You want me scared, you want me weak, you want me brain dead and asleep. You want us trapped while you all laugh behind the scenes. You want us sick, you think we're dumb. You want us blind and you want us drunk. You want us poor while you get more of everything. But you don't get to tell me what to think and what to do. No, you don't get to tell me what is true. 'Cause you're just liars, cheats and crooks. Change the rules and you burn the books. And so I don't believe a single word you say. You're all liars, fakes and cons. Want you out and we want you gone. So don't believe this time you'll get away. You want us tricked, you want us numb. You want us scared and you want us stung. You want us shot and you want us bought in every way. You want our minds, you want our time. You want us framed up in your crime. I hope you know that it's time to go and we're taking names. 'Cause you don't get to tell us what to think and what to do. No, you don't get to tell us what is true. 'Cause you're just liars, cheats and crooks. Change the rules and you burn the books. And so we don't believe a single word you say. You're all liars, fakes and cons. Want you out and we want you gone. So don't believe this time you'll get away. 'Cause we see la 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 all your lies. La 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 all your lies. You don't get to tell us what to think and what to do. You don't get to tell us what to think and what to do. You don't get to tell us what to think and what to do. You're just liars, cheats and crooks. Change the rules and you burn the books. And so we don't believe a single word you say.
All right, peeps, I'm sending the link. That song.
Want you out and we want you gone. So don't believe this time you'll get away. 'Cause we see la 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 all your lies. La 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 all your lies. 'Cause we're just liars, cheats and crooks. Change the rules and burn the books. So we don't believe a single word you say. 'Cause we're all liars, fakes and cons. Want you out and we want you gone. So don't believe this time you'll get away.
This is an amazing song. All right, people. I'm trying something new. We're going to see. I'll ask you whether or not you like it, and then I may or may not proceed accordingly. I may be stubborn. I ordinarily don't play the entire songs of anything because I don't want to steal or siphon from the traffic that is well-deserved to the original source. But Brad and I, that is the lead singer from 5 Times August, have come to an arrangement where I have licensed that song now. Or we have contracted. We have done business. And Brad has, for good and valuable consideration, allowed me to start every show with that. So what I think I'm going to do is put that to like a 5-minute timer or a 4-minute and 20-second timer. Was that song 4 minutes and 20 seconds? Ooh, I think Brad's throwing in a little 420 joke there. And start every show with that. And that'll be like the countdown timer before we enter into the show. Because Brad, like many others out there, deserves all the publicity that he can possibly get because his music is a work of art that will define the era through which we lived. Much like I put out a video today shouting out Richard Barris in the hardest possible terms. People who do good work need to be put on blast. And people who do bad work, they also need to be put on blast, but for very, very different reasons. All right, good evening, everybody. It's Sunday. And spoiler, people, Barnes is not able to be here tonight because you all know, look, He's in the hospital. He's been in there for a few days now, and he's getting better, but nobody ever wants to be in a hospital, even a woman giving birth to a baby. We can say that now, right? Only women can give birth to babies. Even a woman giving birth to a baby, in as much as she's in a hospital for a good reason, wants to get the hell out of there. Barnes has he's had some medical issues, and he went to the hospital, getting better, and the hope is that he'll be out tomorrow. So he cannot attend tonight's show. And everybody, I appreciate well, first of all, everybody is extremely concerned, myself included. On the one hand, Barnes is a public figure. We have a Sunday night show, and you can't not say what's going on when it's going on. The flip side is even public figures are entitled to some medical privacy. And I ask my questions. I'm a nosy little hypochondriac, and I ask all my questions. But I disclose what I'm authorized to disclose, and I won't say anything that's not true, period, full stop. We should also respect people's medical privacy. It's not, we are legitimately, sincerely concerned, and yet nonetheless have to respect a certain threshold of medical privacy. Barnes is in the art, doing better, and if he's made some announcements. His sister has made some announcements in our Viva Barnes Law.locals.com community. And yes, pray. I don't want to make it sound like it's a dire situation. Everybody can literally feel thoughts and prayers. In 5 years from now, I'm going to be religious. I'll throw that out there. But thoughts and prayers, they're not just things that people say. It's an energy, and you can feel it, and people can feel it. And I know Barnes and his family are appreciating them, and very, very sincerely appreciating everybody's well wishes. And get out of the hospital, Barnesy. Get out of the hospital. Well, they'll find out what's going on. Get the hell out of the hospital. Go home, rest. And the biggest thorn, the biggest irritation of this is that Barnes he was sick last week. Whether or not it's connected, we're not sure. And was complaining about back pains, which is what brought him to the ER. But he has not been able to do his victory lap on the outcome of this election. Not whether or not he had a hand to play in the destiny that was this election. If you were following Barnes's advice on sportspicks.locals.com, if you were following this show for the last, what is it now? Going on 5 freaking years, Barnes and I have been doing this, 4 years. You would have A, made money. You would have B, been smarter than everyone else around you. And you would have seen this coming in a way that the melting down idiots out there crying their way to the bathroom as they, I don't know how to finish that one there. So all that to say, tonight we've got Lord Buckley, Mark Groubert, who's actually in the neighborhood. He's up. He came down for Eric Hundley and Mark Groubert had their America's Untold Stories. Well, I guess is it America's Untold Stories? Whatever. They had their live meetup, election night stuff. I did a cameo there. And Groubert is going to be our guest because John Bodwin, if you're watching, John Bodwin is a man I've had on a couple times, at least 2 or 3 times, and he's doing great COVID research. John, I'll have you back on. I didn't get back to your message, and I'm sorry, but tonight has to be election talk. We will get back to the COVID stuff, the corruption, and I suspect that's going to be getting to the forefront of a Trump administration. But tonight has to be election. So Groubert and I are going to have a good one. I'll pull up the Bill Maher clip, actually, when Groubert comes in. I want to... Oh, and by the way, Groubert, if you're watching, when you come into studio, your camera will be active right away unless you disable it, so be careful. Don't come in on the bathroom, and give me a few minutes because I want to do one standalone segment before you come in. We have entered the realm now where it's gone from the greatest political comeback in the history of the world, not of the 2000s, not of America, of the world. Donald Trump winning, I believe, what is effectively his 3rd win, but his 2nd official win, after they tried to lock him up, strike him from the ballot, demonize him, then kill all of it. Oh, after all of that, he wins, but not only like a eking out a victory where we have to go worry, litigate Maricopa County hanging chads. A smashing, in your face, suck on it, smashing victory. Suck on it is what it is. Now you have to, all the naysayers, all the Trump haters, all the TDS, all of the governors say, we're going to oppose this government. Suck on it. Because even in California, 40% of your electorate, Gavin Newsom, voted for Trump. It is a landslide. It's a 312 to 226 landslide. I was at 311 to 227 because I forgot about the main vote. Landslide. A popular vote landslide. You all have to shut your mouths and suck on it because the people have spoken. You don't get to say now, I'm opposing Orange Hitler because my people. No, the people have spoken. Now it's gone from having participated in the greatest political comeback in the history of the world to making sure this administration, this upcoming future administration, respects the promises it made in getting elected. And that means no more war whores in the administration, be they man or woman. No Pompeos. We'll talk about this. No Nikki Haley's. We don't want war whores. We want the RFK, Make America Healthy Again, populist coalition revolution. And everyone's coming out with their wish lists. What do we want? Who do we want? And I'm saying this now. I've gone through an evolution, and I can appreciate when I've gone through an evolution. Where in the beginning I said, look, you got to pardon all of the nonviolent January 6ers, which I believed at the time, and I still believe to today. Because who can say in good conscience, you got to pardon violent criminals? And I'll put them in quotes. At the beginning, it was a foregone conclusion. I believe January 6th was a Fedsurrection. I believe it was a made it happen on purpose, not let it happen on purpose, facilitated by federal agents, federal assets in the crowd to foment a mob, to then instigate violence deliberately, and also just to let people in, opening up the doors and waving them in, to allow it to happen, to make it happen, so that it could then be weaponized exactly in the same way that they weaponized it against Donald Trump. Insurrection, exclusion under the 14th Amendment, Section 3, insurrection clause. Insurrection, to depict half of America as frothing at the mouth, raging terrorists, domestic terrorists. Let it happen on purpose so they could try to deplatform Trump, which they did, demonize Trump, which they did, try to impeach Trump again, which they did. So it was definitely a made it happen on purpose Fedsurrection. I'll say it unapologetically. And at the beginning, I said, you got to pardon. It's a no-brainer. All of the nonviolent January 6 offenders, the Adam Johnsons, the Lichtman guys, the grannies who were sitting there praying. They've got to be pardoned. And I have now come around to say that even the violent ones, even those who were convicted of actual violence, need to be pardoned. And the question is why? Someone's going to say, Viva, you're crazy. First of all, you're Canadian state of American politics. We're well too late for that, people. You come here for commentary. If you don't want to hear what I have to say about American politics, living in Florida and paying taxes in America, you're on the wrong channel. Even the violent people who committed bona fide acts of violence did not get anywhere near a fair shake at the judicial system. I don't believe that the charges were fair. I don't believe that the trials were fair. I don't believe that the judges were fair. And so I have now lived through a sequence of events where I can now understand, how did the president pardon members of, I don't know, by way of example, the Weather Underground? I don't have enough information to take a position on that, but I can now, having lived through this, understand how it's at least possible that you had people who might have been bona fide committers of acts of violence who nonetheless got railroaded, who nonetheless got unfairly treated by the system, and who most definitely got punishment that was not commensurate with the crime. If they committed crimes and they had been dealt with properly and they had only gone after the violent Jan 6ers and punished them in accordance with their crime, commensurate with other similarly placed people who had been convicted of those crimes, we wouldn't have an issue. We're not there. And by the way, does anybody, let me share the screen. I don't think people realize some of the sentences that some of the violent offenders got for their acts of violence. Listen to this. This is from United States Attorney's Office, District of Columbia. 4 men sentenced for actions during Jan 6 breach. Randolph, listen to this. It's unbelievable. 4 men from Kentucky, North Carolina, Texas, Virginia were sentenced to various terms after they were convicted of multiple felony, yada, yada, related to their conduct. Their actions and the actions of others disrupted a joint session of Congress meant to ascertain the Electoral College for the 2020 vote. Okay, fine. Sentenced by, who was it? District Judge Gia M. Cobb. Listen to their sentences. Randolph was sentenced to 8 years in prison, 36 months supervised release, $2,000 restitution. I care about nothing but the stolen time of life. Grant, 36 months. That's 3 years. Blythe, 30 months. Johnson was sentenced to 5 years of probation. Okay, let's hear. Listen to this. According to the evidence presented at trial, the group participated in the first breach of the Capitol grounds and led an initial attack against the United States Capitol Police. Okay. The attack paved the way for thousands of rioters. Listen to this. The 5 men joined the rioters. Yada, yada, yada. I want to get to that. Listen to this. This is it. This is some of the violent criminals in this. Here, the sidewalk at the edge of the Capitol grounds across the street from the piece was blocked by a linked bike rack barricades. A second set of bike rack barricades with signs that read "Area closed by order of the United States Capitol Police Board" and reinforced with snow fence zip ties barred the way. At 12:50, Samsel approached the first barricade, opened a section, entered the restricted grounds, and approached the Capitol via whatever. Samsel and Grant began to forcibly push and pull on the second barricade while officers held it in place. Samsel stopped pushing long enough to remove his denim jacket, hand it off to someone off camera, and then turn his Make America hat around backward. He handed a megaphone, yada, yada, yada. Randolph began to forcibly push and pull on the fence directly across from the officer. As they drove the metal bike rack barricade at the police line, one officer was struck in the face. The force of the strike threw the officer backward and caused the officer to slam their head twice. First against the middle, then against the stairs. The officer lost consciousness and suffered a concussion. Another officer was driven several feet back with the metal bike rack barricade. Let's appreciate that. And what did those get? Samsel and Grant? 3 years. This is one of the examples of the other classic example who raises a lot of controversy is Jake Lang, who I've had on the channel, and who some people want to dissociate from the other Jan 6ers because Jake admitted to what he did, but said it was in self-defense to a police force that was beating protesters, stomping protesters. They, in fact, allegedly, depending on who you ask, stomped to death Roseanne Boyland, who they then blamed her death on a drug overdose, even though the drugs in her body were related to treating, from what I understand, ADHD and not any sort of methamphetamine as people commonly understood it. And so people don't want Jake Lang being lumped together with the other non-violent Jan 6ers who are now seeking pardons, commutations, whatever. The entire prosecution of everyone involved was weaponized, politicized, and exaggerated from the get-go. And, you got your Molotov cocktail lawyers out of New York getting what? Plea deals that are reduced by prosecutors. And then you get people who pushed a barricade. And yeah, it's not to condone any of it. It's bad. And you faffle, you fuck around, you find out, especially when it involves violence against police officers. 3 years, 8 years, when other people who beat police officers on camera get released the day of and then get sentenced to nothing. So I'm sorry, my position, it should be full pardon for everyone prosecuted by the January 6th committee and whomever. Everyone prosecuted for the events of January 6th should be mass pardoned, period. What are you going to go? You're going to go parse through? Well, he punched an officer allegedly, and he was sentenced to 16 years. Enrique Tarrio wasn't even there, 20 years. You're not going to go parse through this and redo what they screwed up the first time. Had they done it fair and proper the first time, there'd be nothing to undo right now. It's too complicated to try to undo that, not blanket pardons, period. That's my position, and I'm sticking to it. All right. Now, before Groubert comes in, Groubert is my nickname, before Groubert comes in, since McConnell is threatening a secret ballot for Senate leader, could Trump, when president, declassify the secret ballot, nullify this coup attempt by the rhinos so they can't hide their vote? Get Will Barnes. I need Barnes to answer that question. Maybe Groubert. I'll save the some of the chats for Groubert. It has a very, very big brain as well when it comes to politics. For those of you who are new to the channel, we're going to end on YouTube sooner than later. Go over to Free Speech Rumble. Vote with our eyeballs, vote with our feet, vote with our dollar. And then we have our locals after party. And, actually, speaking of voting with our eyeballs and voting with our dollar, I almost forgot to thank our sponsor, people. Chuck Norris. You got to go watch the video if you haven't seen it. It's been playing in my backdrop from the beginning. Chuck Norris, people. Can you imagine that we're in a world right now where I've got Chuck Norris as a sponsor. One day I'm going to meet Chuck Norris in person one day. But if you don't know, have you ever wondered what happened to Chuck Norris? I recently saw a video and I was shocked. He's in his 80s, still kicking ass and working out and staying active. What's even more shocking is he's stronger, can work out longer, and has plenty of energy left over for his grandkids. And as you get older, you realize that is the next step of life that you very much look forward to. He did this by making one change. He says he still feels like he's in his 50s. His wife started doing it. She's never felt better. She says she feels 10 years younger and her body looks leaner, and she has energy all day. Chuck made a special video. It's the one you're watching right now. Go watch it with audio. That explains it all. Go to chuckdefense.com/Viva. The link is in the description. Click on the link, watch it. It'll change the way you think about your health. Once again, it's chuckdefense.com/Viva. Click the link in the description. You won't believe how simple it is. Just a reminder, by the way, he's a whopping 84 years young, and he has more energy than 99% of Americans out there. He discovered he could make a dramatic change to his health by focusing on 3 things that sabotage our body as we age. Watch the method by clicking on the link. Chuck Defense with an S, not a C, because you are Americans, not Canadians.com. Groubert, can you hear me? We'll wait for Groubert. While we wait for Groubert, let me make sure that I've got the super chats on here and Crumble. Susie Willis, Chief of Staff, thoughts. This is from Glacius. Can I bring it up here? Here we go. I'm picking brains of people who are smarter than me. I know what Robert thinks of Susie. We talked about it on the channel. I have picked the brain of another person, equally smart, equally political savvy, who is not as, I don't know. I would say that Barnes would be doom-pilled on that choice. It's from many people who are more involved in the DC political machine. It's not the best choice, but it's not the worst choice. The chief of staff is basically like, you want a job in the Trump administration, you go through Susie Wiles, is what some might call I don't know if she would be called a neocon. Some words I won't use because I don't want to misuse them. Is she maybe the best who has her ear to the ground in terms of what the world wants from a Trump administration? Who would be the best people to bring on? I don't know. All that I know, by the way, I don't think I had anything to do with it, but at least I get to look smart. They were contemplating, or at least there was words on the street, musing on the street, that they were going to pick Mike Pompeo for a position. And I was doing some research over the weekend, and I went to listen to a podcast that Mike Pompeo in May. Was it in May? Yeah, where he was. Barnes has a very interesting theory about Mike Pompeo and Nikki Haley, and why Pompeo was talking about potentially being a VP pick, and whether or not some people were wise to certain plans, and whether or not they would have benefited from the July 13 plan had it gone the way the deep state murderous apparatus wanted it to go. My humble opinion. Mike Pompeo might have thought that he would have been the VP when and if Nikki Haley ever became the presidential nominee. Listen to this. It's a little long. We'll play a bit.
So what would President Trump do if he rolls into the White House again? Boots on the ground, perhaps?
Boots on the ground. Not a tough question.
This is the third time you asked the precise same question. Somehow your predicate of your question just misreads the history.
Okay, so
third time answering the question.
Ground, is that possible?
Yes or no?
President Trump is in office again.
Again, you're simply asking the wrong question. The question is, how does Europe reestablish deterrence?
You're asking the wrong question, which means I don't want to answer.
Of Vladimir Putin, and the answer is an administration in the United States and a strong, capable.
Okay, so that's I don't. You asked the same question the third time, and I still haven't answered it. The second, is that he eventually. Let me get to. Here we go. Look at this. Would you authorize strikes within Russia?
On our watch.
Would exchanging Ukrainian territory for peace, would that be part of that equation, do you think?
President Zelensky has fought hard, and the Ukrainian people have sacrificed enormously.
All of this is academic anyhow, because Trump just announced that. Listen to this.
So the other thing that I think often gets short shrift here is the economic work that we did. You mentioned in the opening, I'm involved with a company. It's called Vion that's operating in Ukraine. It's the primary.
That's your third strike, Pompeo. So you wouldn't say that you would not bring American troops boots on the ground. You, in that interview, basically suggested he would have authorized Ukraine to use weapons that would have struck within Russia, i.e. triggering World War III. And he's got financial ties to corrupt Ukrainian. No, I don't know if it's corrupt, but to Ukrainian telecom companies. So that would be 3 strikes for Pompeo, as far as I'm concerned. And Pompeo has officially been announced, as has Nikki Haley, as not being potential selected candidates for the next Trump administration. All right, Mark, if you're listening, come in. You might not be able to recognize the camera because you're using Studio, but come on in and let's do this here. We got Ready Freddy 5755 says, thanks for what you guys do. It is a pleasure and an honor, and it's also an ikigai to do what the world needs and what we love doing. and what we can make a living doing because it's amazing. ML Wiles says, I am not related to Susie Wiles. I do share a last name with Susie. If she holds the same name I do, she will do great. Chief of staff is not the type of thing that gets you into World War III. And now Trump gets to say, I am the racist, misogynist, xenophobe, anti-Semite who's also wildly pro-Israel, who appointed the first female chief of staff to cabinet. All right, Mark, do I bring you in, Mark, or are you is Mark having trouble getting in here? Promote to moderator. I don't need to do that. Mark Groubert, if you're watching, come on in. Come in now? Question mark. Can't. Hold on. Why not? Why can't he come in? Hold on. Did I require approval? You have to. No, I don't. I didn't. No, there's no require. Hold on, people. Let me just figure out what's going on here. Oh, I'm an idiot. Is this it? Okay, Mark, try now. You need to disable your mic, and you got to enable your mic and enable your camera. I can't do it. You got to enable your mic and enable your camera. No, he didn't. Oh, this. Okay, guys, give me 1 second. I have to figure out why I can't. Promote to moderator. No, it's not. Just come in with the native camera. Period. It doesn't always recognize the plug-in camera. Okay, give us a second. Groubert is going to come in. Let's go see what's going on in Viva Barm. Yeah, Boomer Tube. No, well, this I'm blaming on Groubert because even Barnes doesn't have problems getting into the stream using Rumble Studio. But I think it's give me a second. I'll take a couple more chats while we're at this. Let's share here over on Rumble. Leverett Senior, 1 of 2, says, I heard you were so thrilled on Tuesday that you attempted to perform a standing backflip. I bet you won't try that again. I've been waiting for 4 years to see your prediction about Trump winning come true. Get good real soon. I'm sure 47 has your number on speed dial and values your input. P.S. No faking illness or injury just to rake in the sweet Rumble rant. And then we got thanks for what you do and Susie Willis, chief of staff. Okay, we got that. Thank you very much. Now, let me see what Huntley's having a boomer moment. It's and now let me make sure. There is no okay, accept and accept. Okay. Groubert, there we go. I see the thing coming up in the backdrop. And now I'm in auto duo. We're just, you don't okay, give me 1 second, guys. I'm just going to call him and see what the heck is going on. Can you unplug both? Are you using plugins or just the computer? Yeah, so unplug both and just come in from the computer. See if that changes it. Okay. Let's see if this works, people. Okay, hold up. Oy. This is the one time we don't do the... There we go. Okay, Groubert. Let's hear if I hear you. We see you now, Mark. And now, but we don't hear you. Unmute. He's sweating. You can look at his face. He looks nervous. No, so it's not. Okay, this sucks. Hold on 1 second, guys. Give me a sec.
How about now?
There you go. Okay, good. I'm blaming you, Mark. No, so there is Barnes has had a similar problem. It doesn't recognize an external. It doesn't recognize an external camera. But I don't know if it's a setup. Either way, we got you. Better late than never, and we can all unclench our tuchuses and get into the show.
Well, it's recognizing the camera. It's just not recognizing the microphone.
Yeah, it's something. It's sometimes it's the.
No, I blame the Jews obviously for this, as you're well aware.
Well, and just like that, okay, everybody, Groubert, you guys know him, the second biggest brain in the political sphere, maybe the biggest brain in the entertainment sphere. And we had a show last Monday where Mark was talking about historically how the rigging of the system works and how they have dead voter rolls and how they keep them, and then they know what they need to beat as the numbers come in. And I think we've seen it play out actually since Tuesday.
Right. Well, even if they don't know the numbers that they need to beat, they have the numbers on hand, David, to beat whatever comes in. The key to the game is for the opposition to be done, and then they can top the opposition. The real key is to extend the voting counting deadline legislatively, which they've done in Democratic strongholds like California and apparently Arizona. That goes 13 days. California, 30 days to count. Which is why those House seats are in jeopardy. And in Arizona, 13 days to count. It was the same thing with the Kari Lake case. That's why her thing is they're going to continue to top her no matter how many votes appear for Kari Lake. They will simply find additional Gallego votes.
So you're in California and you're following what's going on there. Like, what is? We have to get through Pennsylvania, but what's at stake in California in terms of House and other seats that people might not be paying attention to?
3 Orange County seats that Republicans went in winning that are now in jeopardy to be flipped in Orange County, which is a conservative stronghold. I'm not sure up to the minute what's going on right now, but they're using the same legal techniques in California to have extended counting days and weeks in California. Actually, it's 3 to 4 weeks of counting. So that can go on. And they're attempting to do the same thing in Pennsylvania. Even though their deadline was Wednesday night at midnight, they're attempting now with Chuck Schumer refusing to allow Senator-elect McCormick, as called by the Associated Press, to attend a senatorial orientation meeting of senator-elects. He's blocking this, Schumer, and I believe that this is just my opinion. I think McCormick should simply show up and force his way into the orientation meeting by physically forcing his way into. I've said this on my channel for a long time. Physically, things have to be done to push these different things to the max. This letter writing by Republicans is so weak, such a weak sauce. People are so tired of it. There's got to be some physics involved here.
I'll
just add one more. The governor of Massachusetts said that she will physically prevent Trump from deporting illegal aliens. Good. Arrest her for obstruction of justice. But you got to do something. You can't just continue to debate them in the court of public opinion while they're using a different playbook than you're using. There's just a couple of them.
No, but it's actually wild where they say we're gonna defy federal authorities exercising or imposing the law, where you just had the federal authorities basically saying the states can't enforce immigration law. So I mean, you have the reverse precedent to some extent, where they say states can't enforce federal immigration laws. Presumably, they can't defy federal immigration laws. So
these are like crazy drunk teenagers. They'll say the opposite 5 minutes later. The point of the matter is you got to get the job done. You can't have debates with them on CNN, which, by the way, I don't know if this sounds familiar, but guests on CNN are now calling for Kamala Harris to be installed by Joe Biden and having him step down so she could be a ceremonial president for 3 months. Sounds Viva?
That sounds fantastic for me. I got 10-1 odds on both of those things. I'm eating it. I've lost my thus far because they seem to have called it for Gallego out of Arizona, and I'm not complaining. It's just a shame that Kari Lake looks like she's going to get screwed, politically screwed twice now. Let me read. I'm going to read 2 of these super chats before they disappear over on CommieTube. Keep up the good fight from questionable intent is a $50. Can't bring it up. And Loru says, my siblings and I were peaceful and convicted of January 6th, had to take a plea deal. We weren't even allowed to know our sentence before accepting the deal. Our sentencing hearing was a nightmare inquisition. Absolutely. And
pardon everyone on day one. This getting into the weeds Viva, and debating about their particular charges is like debating people who went to the ovens during the Holocaust about what their crimes were. It's absurd. None of them should be charged in this protest at the People's House in any way, shape, or form, let alone jailed. They need to put together a class action lawsuit with Jonathan Gross, one of the top attorneys. He's representing a lot of the J6ers. He's been on our show before. Gross is one of a couple of attorneys who has the balls to represent them. They've threatened to destroy everyone's careers who merely represent these J6ers. The tide has got to turn. The tide has got to turn, and they have to go on the offensive.
It is that's the thing, like parsing out who did what, and you punched an officer. I mean, and it's not to minimize it. It's just that the damage is done. First of all, some of them have already served more time. Jake Lang, in particular, in pretrial detention. Some of them have served more time than any other normal lefty, capital D, different perpetrator would have served. Period.
Right.
And you got your January the January insurrection from 2017. Where basically everybody was let off for firebombing, burning limousines, and they went hog to the wall for everything here. So, like, I'm not going to parse through who was violent and who wasn't. Unfortunately, they screwed the entire thing up. Hold on now. I was going to bring up something in a second. CNN. Oh, so I did not actually hear who's pressuring Biden to resign and appoint.
CNN and also editorials. This is as I predicted. I didn't predict it would happen, but I predict that this would happen, that they would call for him to step down to allow her to be an honorary president for 3 months. So, yes, took a couple of days. Also, massive protests now being formed for the inauguration. They're organizing across the country for a massive physical demonstration on January 20th in D.C., as I figured would happen. There were already demonstrations in New York of illegal aliens being shepherded around by NGOs in a physical protest in the streets of New York, claiming that they have every right to be here and to live off of your money.
I'm going to make a prediction. I don't think there's going to be as much violence, or at least that the mobs are going to be as big as people are fearing. I think I think people are kind of done, and you got a very vocal minority that's threatening it, but they're going to show up and nobody's going to be there. But hold on, let me bring this up, Mark. I didn't realize you sent this to me via DM. Yeah. Let's check this out. Okay. Oh, I'm not sharing the screen. Hold on. Here.
Figure. He could resign the presidency in the next 30 days, make Kamala Harris the president of the United States.
Whoa.
He would
Do it.
Wow.
Do it.
From being able to from having to oversee the January 6th transition, right, of her own defeat, and it would make sure that it would dominate the news at a point where Democrats have to learn drama and transparency and doing things that the public want to see is the time. This is the moment.
What an idiot.
Change the entire perspective of how Democrats.
Okay, this is.
Well, he just said like 3 things that are mutually incompatible. They need drama and transparency. First of all, the Dems don't need to learn drama. They're the drama queens.
They're drama queens, that's for sure.
And transparency. First of all, do it. Do it, and oh my gosh, I will be laughing.
I had predicted that Biden would step down, but I wrongly predicted that he would pick the governor of California, whom he had stated publicly was his heir apparent. He had gone to California on numerous trips, raised the hand of the governor of California and said, "This is my successor." Apparently, the demand for Kamala Harris, there's different takes on it, because Paul Manafort suggested on the interview with Tucker, which I highly recommend, that Joe Biden stabbed them in the back, them being the Clintons and Obamas, by endorsing her within 48 hours, thereby cementing her candidacy and screwing over a phony, quote unquote, open primary for the Democrats that would have allowed Obama and the Clintons to be kingmakers. He made her a queen, but the original choice, I believe, was the governor of California, who is already now running because he's termed out. I predicted to you the other day that she will run for the governor of California, just like Richard Nixon did in 1962 after losing the presidency in 1960 to JFK. She's been the senator of California. She's been the attorney general. She has nowhere to go politically except back to her home state. She could walk in and take the crown if she wants, and I think she will.
That's interesting. Hold on. Kamala Harris would go back and run for governor. Gavin Newsom, it looks like he's running for 2028.
Yeah, he's out. There's no real major figures. I had originally urged RFK Jr. to throw his hat into the ring and use California as a testing ground for all of his various policies. 40 million people could then be used as guinea pigs, good or bad guinea pigs, for RFK's policies. I don't know what position RFK is going to take, a cabinet position. I don't really know. I don't think he wants to come to D.C. and leave his house in Malibu. I originally thought and urged him to, and I talked to Dr. Drew about this, who spoke to him, according to Dr. Drew. Then Nicole Shanahan picked up the mantle from him and said she was going to run. But I think it's Kamala Harris's race to lose in California, and she could stay politically active.
The only thing I disagree with your theory is that Biden was trying to do anything to benefit Kamala by endorsing her. I think, from what I understand, they hate each other. And
no, I'm not saying that either. In fact, Manafort was saying it was knowing that she was going to lose and to screw over the people that stabbed him in the back. Oh, no. Manafort said the same thing. This was designed to cement her as the weakest candidate that any of them, which is why he picked her as VP. You always want like a weak, dunce candidate to be your VP. Look at Joe Biden. I mean, he was an idiot selected Barack Obama.
Yeah, and the graph is hilarious. There was a meme where it says Obama's thinking, I need a dumber VP than me. And then you got Biden. Then Biden says, I need a dumber VP than me. And then you got Kamala. And Kamala says, I need a dumber VP than me. And then you got, what's his face? Tim Walz, who we haven't heard. Oh, he gave a speech, actually. By the way, Mark, you'll like this. Mark is an American hero. AG Maine 5082. Thank you. So that's interesting.
The meetup the other night, it was fantastic here in Boca. Everybody had a great time. You were great. The crowd was great. The technology needs to be worked on. But yeah, for the most part, it was a great night. Election night, I'm talking about. We stayed there till like 3:00 in the morning.
I'm going to bring this up because I don't know if this is a Trump did pick a weak VP. I hope you mean in 2016.
Yeah, no, 2016. The traditional pick was to pick a Mike Pence. He's changing the narrative.
Yeah, I hope because
now keep in mind there was a guy named George W. Bush who sent out a guy to find a VP pick and vet him, and he vetted himself and says, "I'm your new VP," and that's Dick Cheney, Liz Cheney's father, who's still armed to the teeth with a shotgun and drinking wildly. In Wyoming with his daughter. So that's another narrative that was flipped in that traditional department of picking a weaker. It's kind of like a comedian. Like I said the other day, if you're a comic, you don't pick somebody to open for you who's funny because you want to come out and kill. So you pick, a really shitty working kind of comic who acts and looks like a comic, like this guy Killer Joe or whatever his name is, who was at Madison Square Garden. But, look at Bill Maher. I mean, Bill Maher, like you said last night, doesn't take blame for anything, this guy. I mean, just nonstop.
And just so everybody knows, Mark and I had dinner last night. Mark came to my daughter's play. I saw my daughter's play twice in the weekend. My daughter was, what's it called when someone is the backup if someone drops out? Swing?
The understudy.
The understudy. My daughter was the understudy, and the lead had to drop out 2 weeks, or it was a week before the showtime, and my daughter, who had been one good understudy, took the lead role and killed it, if I do say so myself. But speaking of Bill Maher, the scum, I'll play it. You got to listen to this guy. Look at his face. His entire demeanor reeks of arrogant pomposity.
Am I going to worry about it? First of all, I'm not going to worry about it, Phil, because he's not going to win.
This is Trump winning.
So you think he's just worn it out? You think people are just going to get fatigued?
Enough. I feel
category fatigue.
I mean, it's just going to be, we're talking about a few 100,000 people perhaps, but I think it's going to be a little closer than that. First of all, she's definitely going to win the popular vote, as Democrats almost always do now. Mm-hmm. But I think she will win. I think he will, of course, go batshit insane as he always does. He won't accept it. His followers, I think, I don't think their heart will really be in it. as it was in 2020. Some of them, there's lots of people who will always be in the bunker with Mrs. Goebbels taking the poison and giving the poison to the children,
great analogy,
because it's better than living in a world without National Socialism. I make an analogy, but I don't say he's.
Look at that face.
But I think for most people, it's just fatigue. Yes, I think it's time.
For you to take, I mean, could you cram in any more mistakes in one political rant than he just crammed into that political statement?
But you like I always feel bad for people who don't deserve it and people who don't even feel bad for themselves. This guy's saying like, oh yeah, just a few 100,000 Trump supporters are going to be pissed because he's living in a freaking economic silo bubble, an ideological silo bubble, a political silo bubble. Everything about his life is a silo bubble. He has no idea what's going on in the world among the people, like everyday people, and he sits there smoking his weed, drinking his whatever with his stupid new setup, like an arrogant, detached prick who then has no idea, makes wildly bad predictions. And he came out yesterday, Mark, and his explanation was the losers need to look in the mirror. They need to understand what they did wrong.
Right, the losers do, and they are supporters of National Socialism, and they are fascists, and he's really nailing every single thing about his own people. It really is astonishing how accurate he is in an attempt to be inaccurate here. You know,
have you met Bill Maher in real life?
Oh yeah, of course.
Is he as he appears to be on camera?
Oh, it's a lot worse. That's about as nice as you're going to see him. And off camera, it's 10 times worse.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, that's amazing. Okay.
Well, it's kind of interesting. You know, I just wanted to say about how she spent all her money. Or the other people's money. It wasn't her money. She's now $24 million in debt, Harris. And there's different ways to skin that cat, but she's legally liable for the $24 million. I mean, they could have a fundraiser and knock that out. But try to imagine this for your audience. Trump went on to talk with Joe Rogan. And instead of going to Austin, Texas to be in Joe Rogan's set, he had the entire set rebuilt inside of Mar-a-Lago. Just think of what I just said. Joe Rogan's set is rebuilt inside of Mar-a-Lago for like $500,000, and Trump goes on to Joe Rogan's set, does the interview with Joe Rogan, and we never know that it's really a rebuilt set, and Trump was just too busy to go to Austin, Texas to be on Joe Rogan. Imagine what I just said. I'm saying it is because Call Her Daddy, the podcast right here, spending 6 figures to call her daddy to rebuild the entire set of a podcast inside of a hotel room that was controlled by the Harris campaign, so she wouldn't have to go to the Call Her Daddy base of operations. One of the craziest things of our entire campaign is this little factoid. I think she dropped about $400,000 or $350,000 to rebuild the set with Hollywood set designers, so she wouldn't have to go to wherever the hell the place is.
That is so flipping wild. I heard that at the time. Oh, say that again.
I'm saying, how out of touch is that event that you're going to rebuild a set of someone who's got a podcast to make it look like you're at their place?
Well,
the campaign was deception, is what I'm trying to say.
That's what I was.
Of the campaign was deceptive.
That's amazing, because I watched the episode. First of all, the episode was 40 minutes long. It was not anything of a meaningful marathon. It was the most superficial, contrived, scripted a podcast ever. A bunch of whatever. I won't get into that. But they didn't mention that they were not on the actual site. I mean, that is.
Why would they mention it?
To be honest, to be like at least when they insisted that Joe Rogan come to them, now it makes sense. The last time they did come to them and they blew. Wow. Okay.
Now your friend Alan Lichtman, I think you call him.
Oh, I call him Alan Dare Lichtman.
What's his name? Alan Lichtman, the Nostradamus of polling. He's now blaming Elon Musk for his erroneous election call, and I thought that would be like the New York Yankees losing to the Dodgers and blaming the fact that the Dodgers had Freddie Freeman on their team.
Look, I put out my vlog this afternoon and it's performing relatively well. So maybe everybody's seen this, but it's well worth it if you haven't seen today's vlog. Go watch today's vlog. I call him Alan Derelichtman, so I could use the Zoolander. I can derelict my own balls meme, but look at this. First of all, this is the face of panic right here on the right. Listen to what he says. It's never their fault. This is narcissism. Darvo, deny, attack, reverse, victim, and offender. Listen.
And the keys, because the keys depend upon a rational, pragmatic electorate deciding based on governance whether the incumbent party should get 4 more years. And we've seen the explosion of some trends that have existed before, but not to this extent. Disinformation. You know, Elon Musk is, I don't know how many hundreds of billions he has. He has been the director of misinformation. 2 billion views of his spreading of disinformation. Not just about the economy, but about immigrants, about minorities. We've never seen disinformation at this scale. Next, we have never seen to this scale the agitation of 3 trends that have been very deeply embedded in American history. Misogyny, racism, and xenophobia. You know, the first anti-immigrant law was 1798.
I'm going to pause it there. First of all,
this is just a jibber jabber, bro. They can't accept defeat. These are people who've never been. It's the hat trick. I call all 3 of them. If you haven't been in the military, the church, or organized sports, you're a leftist woke Democrat.
I want to
3 areas of society that none of them have ever been involved in.
But there's two observations. First of all, look at the journalist pretending to listen to this guy as though he's saying anything meaningful. It's actually the first part that I find the most offensive.
And the keys, because the keys
13 keys
depend upon a rational, pragmatic electorate.
Pause. What he's basically saying is you're a bunch of irrational, racist, nincompoops of an electorate. My keys work. You just didn't understand them properly. To which I said, as I said in my vlog, his 13 keys. The irony is, if he were able to objectively assess his own 13 keys, he would have been right. His 13 keys include
a weatherman predicting a sunny day and it rains, and he blames the people for coming outside with umbrellas. I mean, you're predicting something. You didn't say it's based on the rationale of one side or the other. You predicted X. It turned out to be Y, and now you're blaming one side or the other.
That was one of my other observations, is if your predictive model doesn't factor in human irrationality, it's not a predictive model, but it's worse than that. It's that his own model probably would have worked if he had assessed it accurately, where you go to key 5, strong short-term economy. And he gave it to Kamala. Key 6, a strong long-term economy. They gave it to Kamala.
Yeah.
Key 7, made a policy change, no social unrest and no scandal. Those 4, if he didn't have a rotten brain, he would have given to Trump, and he would have predicted the right
model. The model's not broken. It's just choices within the model of his own model. Now, that being said, the only guy you could actually listen to, this industry is about to go under like the bond industry, bonding of different in 2008. This industry is about to go away because this is a pay-for-play industry.
Yep.
If you want to find accurate polling, you go to Rich Barris, the People's Pundit, who has called these things correct with Barnes on Inside the Numbers. I don't want to give a shout out to Barnes in Vegas. I am not Barnes. No one is. I'll tell you, 1965, a lot of kids, Viva, who were in America, were putting on Superman costumes and jumping out the window thinking they could fly. The following year, the Superman came out with the same Superman costume, and on the plastic bag, it said on the outside, remember, kids, only Superman could fly. And I say that as a tribute to Robert Barnes, who's not here tonight. I'm
showing Richard Barris's Twitter feed. I gave everybody the link. Go follow him because he was right to the number 312 to 226.
Right. Well, what I'm saying is this is a private thing that he's not working for NBC. He's not working for the Wall Street Journal. He doesn't have a dog in the financial hunt. That model is gone. Everyone that they hire is under pressure to deliver numbers by the people who are hiring them. Unfortunately, this industry is done. It's done. Lichtman is barking at the moon as the last cat doing this. Zogby made all kinds of other crazy predictions. I mean, the only guy who doesn't have a dog in the hunt, there was a couple of them. I mean, Trafalgar was fairly accurate. Atlas
Rasmussen was closer, but
close. But the reality of it is, this industry is finished because it's a pay to play industry.
I mean, anybody with
that's the way it is. You could look at it every 4 years or every 2 years, think it's different, but it's not.
Cheryl Gage over on Rumble said, Viva for ambassador to Canada. You know, I was going to make that joke, but I didn't want to look like I'm trying to make myself more. Everybody's making a joke like Alex Jones says, okay, I'll be the press secretary.
What was with the twitching lady up in Canada yesterday? Your
Krista Freeland. I hate her.
What did she have? What do you think it is? We talked about it last night. I think
she's crazy. No, she might be. It might be Tourette's. It might be medical. So I don't want to make fun of her for it. But I'll make fun of her for being Satan incarnate. But no, the joke is, I was going to make the joke. Yeah, okay, guys, I'll accept ambassador to Canada. I may or may not have told Justin Trudeau to go fuck himself one time too many to be ambassador. Mark, hold on a second. Dog needs to leave the room.
Royal style. Okay, now that Viva is gone, let's talk about what's going on at that house. I got to tell you something. He's back. It's a madhouse. Okay, sorry. Anyway, so Viva is one of the great hosts of all time, and he's back now. So let's discuss this.
Hold on a second. Actually, what we're going to do right now is take the party on over to Rumble and Locals if you're so
on YouTube now.
Yeah, we're gonna cut the feed on YouTube. Here's Locals, and just for the YouTube overlords, this is not to do anything that we couldn't do on YouTube. This is because it's time for the parallel economy. It's time to vote with our feet and our dollars. And Rumble, Chris Pavlovsky, who is the unsung hero on this. You know, Elon gets a lot of the praise, and he deserves it. X is a massive platform that I think, you know, really did have a pivotal role in this election, in that it reaches 108 million Americans who would have otherwise been reliant on CNN. Rumble, Dan Bongino, pivotal. And so Chris Pavlovsky, the CEO, doesn't get the credit that he does deserve. So we're going to go and give that to him now. By 6,000 people on YouTube, come over to Rumble. Let me just give everybody the link. Come to Locals or Rumble. And I'm a neurotic hypochondriac.
It's done electronically. I don't have to go anywhere.
You might have to drive digitally.
Over to your house now. Is that what the game is again? By the way, your daughter's unbelievable last night. I'm still all the way home. That's all we were talking about. You must be kvelling, and I mean kvelling from the old school, from Eastern Europe kvelling, because she was wonderful last night.
She was amazing, and the dinner was delicious. My wife also had a wonderful chicken dinner. Hold on. Okay, 5,600. Good. Come on over. But before we go over one last one, because I want everybody to see this. Speaking of quality needing to see the light of day, Biltong. Well, Axel Jones says, if Kamala packs SCOTUS Trump, pack it more by appointing more forcibly installed, then pack it more by forcibly install every Jan 6 political prisoner for more SCOTUS seats all at once. It would melt their faces, hopefully teach them. And King of Biltong, thank you for being here. Biltong is one of the most protein-dense foods in the world, packed with B12, zinc, iron, creatine, and more. Need a healthy snack? Get yours at BiltongUSA.com, Viva 10 for 10% off. And now we are migrating, people. If you're watching this on YouTube, Rumble. And that is it.
By the way, there's a line at the Mexican border right now, all the way down to the Cape tip of South America, trying to get in because they're trying to get in before Trump comes into power. The line goes all the way down to the tip of South America. And if you get out of line, you can't get back in. So if you go to the bathroom, you got to start at the bottom of South America and get back on the end of the line, from what I'm hearing.
I'm updating the stream before I find out if the second part of that was a joke. Now